Alright, what's up guys? My name is Jacob. Many of you guys know me as Jacob Ecom, and in this video I want to go over my entire story of how I went from being a regular kid in high school and in college to dropping out and now making multiple seven figures with e-commerce. And I'm making this video so you guys can understand that I am no different than you guys, and the only difference is I put my head down for 2 years, worked very hard, and happened to make ecom work. So in this video, I'm going to be going over my entire story of how I started and how I got to where I am today. So just like a lot of you guys watching, when I was younger, I obviously had a lot of visions of what I wanted to do later on in my life. I actually started out doing content when I was like 10 or 11 years old, posting on TikTok and YouTube, building out a flipping account. If you guys know what that is, basically I was doing flips and tricking, and I was, very into social media from a young age. I had a lot of connections to people doing social media. My cousin actually had a couple 100,000 followers, and it got me into content overall, and I had a passion for content my entire life. So I started playing Fortnite when I was about 14 years old. Just like many of you guys, I had a passion to become a Fortnite creator. I was playing Fortnite probably 10 hours a day from 6th grade to 10th grade, and I was streaming, posting clips, constantly trying to do content and somehow make money on the internet. I didn't understand anything. I was still very young, and I was getting into different things, trying to make money in any way, shape, or form, purely to buy Fortnite skins. That is what started everything. I wanted to make money to buy as many V-Bucks and skins as I can. I know a lot of you guys can relate to that because when we were all younger, we all wanted to just buy skins on Fortnite. That was literally our entire life. So my first taste of online money was basically through Fortnite. I was trying to compete, and I didn't make a single dollar because I was shit. I was not good. I thought I was, and I was posting content for a while, trying to make edits, get myself out there with Fortnite, which did not end up working out. I actually moved to Valorant, and it took me to wanting to be a professional Valorant player, which is embarrassing to say, but that was my goal after that. From 10th to 11th grade, I was just heads down grinding Valorant, and it got me to actually get pretty good at the game, and I got some traction on there. I didn't end up making any money, but again, I wanted to make money to buy skins on Valorant. It's funny to say that now because I don't think I would spend money on those things anymore, but that's kind of what initially started my drive to make money online. So obviously, as I got older, I understood that video games was not going to make me money. Although there were a lot of people that I knew that did make money with video games, I started getting into reselling on Depop, and I was reselling shitty spider hoodies and just a bunch of BS on Depop, and I actually ended up making a little bit of money on there to start building up some capital and ideally invest into a business. That was my goal. I just had no idea what to do. Just like many of you, when you're starting out, you really don't have any direction, and I was the same. This was my senior year of high school, very beginning. I was still in high school at the time, my first semester where I just started, and I wanted to get into online business because ideally I did not want to go to college. It scared me. I was very anxious thinking about going to college, and I did not want to go. So I wanted to make money with reselling because I had a couple of friends online who did it and made some good money. And obviously I got shiny object syndrome and followed along trying to make money, but I ended up getting banned because I was selling bullshit, and that sadly did not work out. So at this stage in my life, I should have probably gotten a regular job, but I am a very anxious person overall, especially in social settings. So I did not want to get a job at all. I couldn't imagine, clocking in, going to work, and being in that setting. I was very anxious about it, so I tried my absolute best to do everything and anything to not get a job. This is why I was doing, side gigs like reselling, and then I started editing online because obviously I had a passion in content, and just doing anything to make money and not get a job. This is what started my entire online business journey, my senior year of high school, just grinding out any ways to make a little bit of money on the side. Which takes me into how I actually got into dropshipping by seeing an ad by Iman Godzi, which is like the internet's biggest guru, as many of you guys know. I saw an ad on his course, Digital Launchpad, and I said, fuck it, and spent $30 on his dropshipping course in June of 2024. So this basically inspired me and gave me direction into starting my first online business, which is Ecom, which obviously, as you guys know watching this, I'm still doing, and I'm now successful with it. But in June 2024, I spent $30 on a Iman Godzi course, and started learning the basics of dropshipping. I got into content as well because, as you guys know, it's always been my passion. I was filming every single day what I was doing. So from June to August, I was going through the course and starting out my first, ecom store. I was very excited. I just got this new direction on building an online business, and I started posting about it. One of the best decisions of my life and in my entire journey was starting to post on social media, because I happened to make a lot of connections through just the short amount of time I was posting at the start. I was gaining a couple hundred followers, if that. I think I hit my first 1K followers after like 5 months of posting. It was very, very slow, but people saw my raw journey on the internet, and I built a lot of connections. So I'm very glad I started posting early on. That kind of became my passion, building this business online, posting about it, building connections, and just documenting my entire journey with Ecom. So through connections I made, I got into my first mentorship in August of 2024. I invested $3,000 from money I had saved up through reselling and editing gigs and just some side things to build up some income. I invested in my first mentorship because through some connections I made, I understood that I needed to invest in my knowledge. The only way to really get to that next level and speed up the process of learning was investing in a mentorship. So I invested in one in August of 2024, and I started learning a lot of new things around ecom outside of just calorie ripping. I was still testing products every single day. I was probably testing 2 or 3 per week, give or take, trying to get something to work while building my skills and just learning more about ecom, because I understood that it was not going to be easy. And after the shiny object syndrome kind of went away, I understood that building a real business takes a lot of time, and this was not going to be easy. The people I had met through my entire journey posting on social media had told me that this is really hard, it is not easy, and it is going to take a lot of time. But they kept me going. I had a lot of friends back then that I met through social media. I didn't know in person, but I was just sitting in my room 10 hours a day, focusing purely on ecom. I had friends constantly asking me to hang out and go out, because obviously I was still in high school at the time. This was my senior year, and I declined them. I did not want to go out. I did not want to do anything but work on my business. I was purely focused on making this work. I had so many visions and goals that I wanted to achieve that I knew were possible because I saw these other people around me doing the same thing at my age. So with every business journey, everybody goes through burnouts, and this was the first phase of burnout that I felt in November of 2024. I had not seen any success, and I had just invested $3,000 into a mentorship and still had not seen success because I was slacking. I was not putting the work in that I needed to, and I thought that it would come a lot easier, which frustrated me because I saw all these people on the internet making money, and I didn't understand what I was missing and what I was doing wrong. So in December is when I took my first break from ecom for about 2 weeks. I had really bad burnout, and my mental health was declining because I was working so hard, investing all my money into it and not seeing any results. I think my biggest day at this point was $200. I was probably down about $5,000 at this point, and it was very stressful, right? Because when you're building a business at such a young age, when you have friends around you, family around you. Obviously, I was excited when I started ecom. I was telling people what I was doing, and they would laugh at me. They wouldn't understand what I wanted, these visions that I had, and nobody understood me. I was just kind of quiet to myself, journaling every single day. I'd probably have 150 journal entries of every single day of this step of the journey, writing down how unsatisfied and frustrated I felt. So I want to read you guys a journal entry of day 83, 10/17/24 at 10:27 p.m. I wrote down, kind of had a lot of doubts while reading in class today, but I mainly think it strikes from my circle. They simply do not understand and are not delusional enough and open-minded enough to see the future in the same way I do. So obviously, with me being excited about my business, I was telling my friends about what I was doing, and I wanted to share how excited I was about this new venture in my life. So I was telling people, my friends, my family, for the last couple months about what I was doing. Telling people only brought negativity to my life. I would constantly question how my business was going. They would kind of scoff when I told them it wasn't working. They would tell me that I should just go back to school, focus on a degree, go to college, and be a regular kid like everybody else. I didn't accept it. I did not want to do that. I had zero intentions of going to college, and like I said, it was very anxiety inducing for me to think about going to school, going to college, and living the rest of my life in this matrix. So through my burnout, I kind of recouped, and I understood that I needed to keep grinding on my business because this is what I wanted out of life. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to have the freedom that all these other people on social media had, and I needed to detach myself from my business and just keep grinding because I knew that I had a slight delusion that this was going to work out. No matter how many doubts I had, no matter how many things stressed me out, I knew that I needed to sit down and focus on my business. And this leads me into my second mentorship that I bought in January of 2025. So the new year came around, and obviously I was motivated again. New year, new me, as everyone says. I bought another mentorship and I spent another $3,000 to learn absolutely nothing. This was the biggest waste of money I think I've ever invested into, and 2 weeks later I was very frustrated. I had my dad help me as a Christmas present invest in this because obviously I didn't have income, I didn't have money to invest, and I was very stressed out because with paid ads, you need to have money coming in to not have your emotions attached to your business. But I didn't. So I spent $3,000 on this mentorship and I learned absolutely nothing. It was horrible. I got maybe one response per day from this mentor, maybe one call per week, and I really did not learn anything. I actually tried to charge back after because I was just frustrated that I invested and I didn't make any money. I didn't learn anything. I had just lost $3,000 of which was a lot of money to me at the time because I had no income. And it goes to show that a lot of people on the internet that just flaunt money and don't know what they're talking about also make money from their courses. It's a very sketchy environment to be in. The ecom space is very unauthentic, and so if you guys are looking to invest in other people, it's very important that you make sure you understand who you're putting your money towards and that you actually get value out of what you're investing into. Put effort into understanding what you're going to invest into and do not make the same mistake that I did, because I regret losing that $3,000. It would have helped my mindset and my emotions way better if I had just taken that and invested in my business rather than buying this mentorship. But I never like to regret things. It was a big stepping stone in my journey. It opened my mind a lot to the ecom space and made me understand that I need to be a lot more cautious with where I put my money and who I talk to in the space. So after that, I happened to come across my first business partner, Ari, who I worked with for about 6 months. We started working together. He kind of hit me up explaining that there was a lot of things I needed to improve with my stores. We decided we wanted to work together. I had never had a business partner and I thought, why not, right? I could learn from him, he could learn from me, we could work together, and we actually became best friends. We worked together for about 6 months. We put a lot of effort into learning marketing and different aspects of ecom, and it opened my mind to what building a business actually is, because there were so many different aspects to dropshipping and ecom than just throwing a product on the internet, testing ads, and hoping something works. We both learned about marketing a lot, but we did not have any success, unfortunately. We also invested in another mentorship together that we ended up splitting, which I learned a lot from because, like I said, with that other mentor that I lost $3,000 from and gained zero value, I understood that the next person I invested in, I really need to be confident in who I'm putting my money towards and what value I get out of that. So I was very cautious and I invested in this mentorship with Ari, my business partner at the time, and we benefited so much from that mentorship. The amount that I learned in terms of marketing with ecom, it just opened my eyes to how building a business actually goes. But like I said, unfortunately, me and Ari did not see any success. I think we scaled to maybe $400 a day, very unprofitable. So this was well over a year into my journey. I was still very unprofitable, losing a lot of money, and it was very demotivating because I had spent an entire year losing money. I was probably down about 10 to 15 grand by now without a lot of income coming in. I was doing some little side gigs, like I said, editing, trying to make anything work with ecom, but I had zero success. It was very frustrating. I had seen some people post about how they got quick results with ripping ads and what I was doing wrong. I didn't understand. And I was just very emotionally attached towards my business that it led me to a second burnout, of which I fell into a pretty unhealthy habit of going out a lot during the summer and really took me away from my business, which, looking back again, it was a huge stepping stone in my journey, but it was a very unhealthy time of my life. I fell into bad habits and kind of around some bad people where they pulled me into directions that I didn't want to go towards. This is just what happened when, I spent a whole year and a half almost working on my business, seeing zero results. I kind of fell into this really deep burnout where I did not put a lot of effort into my business. I was still kind of posting a little bit here and there, but I just felt really, really lost. We had grinded for so hard. Me and Ari spent, 10-hour days for 6 months working together to see zero results. We did not understand what we were doing wrong. And so we decided to part ways. We're still best friends. He is, one of the biggest blessings in my life because we really learned and grew a lot together. And we understood that all these failures were going to compound eventually into turning into something extremely successful. But unfortunately, it did not work out with us, so we stopped working together. It was better for both of us, and it led me back onto my solo journey. So it was June 2025 now, and I had fallen into some bad habits, had a little bit of a burnout. I went on a trip with my family. I came back, I kind of reset, and I met my current business partner, Kane. So at the time, he was doing about 10 to 15K a month with a store, and I wanted to help him out. So just for free, I kind of gave him tips and helped him with his current brand. I jumped on it a little bit, and I made some ads for him just for fun, just to kind of build up my skills and reinforce my skills. And I wanted to work with somebody again, and me and Kane clicked very well, very fast, and so it led me into becoming business partners with him. One day we were sitting together and we were just like, fuck it, let's just run a store together, and that's how me and Kane started to work together. So when we launched our first store together on September 21st, I wrote down on a note card our different goals. On October 5th, we wanted to hit our first 1K day. October was gonna be our first profitable month. November was going to be a 50K rev month. December was then going to be our first 100K month, and we are going to book a trip to Miami. So at this point in my life, I was back into my grind phase. I was very focused. Me and Kane had our goals set. We were very dialed in. We were testing probably 5 products a week every single day. We were just working together. He was still in school at the time. I had now graduated. I was in my online first year and first semester of college, which obviously I did not want to do at all. But because of my parents and everything, and I hadn't seen success, there was no reason for me to drop out yet, although I did not want to go to college at all. I was telling my family I was going to do 2 years at a community college and then move to Utah to do my last 2 years and get my business degree. This was absolute bullshit. I did not want to go to college at all, and I was just telling this to them so I didn't have that pressure on my back of them, looking at my business and seeing it not succeeding and kind of just doubting me. So me and Kane at the time were grinding from September to about October. We did not see any success. It was, we had a lot of doubts at the time. We actually had this one night where we were in the pool together, and I was almost in tears because we were talking about how hard we were working and how we had not seen results yet. Kane was working a job, he was still in school, and we were working so hard. Why had we not seen results? Why not us? We didn't understand what we were doing wrong. We thought we were doing something wrong when in reality, we just needed to put more work in and continue testing products because we were on the right path. So with that came a lot of doubts. We thought about maybe giving up, how maybe Ecom wasn't for us. Maybe we should try a different business model. I had been doing this for a year and a half and I'd lost probably $15,000 at the time. I had not seen any real success, and it was just a very hard time in my life. Thankfully, we did not give up because October 23rd, when we launched our current brand that has scaled to multiple 7 figures, we started testing this product and seeing a little bit of success. So for the first couple of weeks, it was nothing crazy. It was up and down, profitable, break even, unprofitable, and we wanted to put a lot of work into this brand because we saw a future with it. Unfortunately, in November, I got really sick. I got pneumonia and the flu at the same time, and I got completely set back once again, right as I started seeing a little bit of a breakthrough, and it was very, very hard on me mentally. Thankfully, I had Kane there to keep me pushing and to help this brand stay afloat while I was kind of getting through the sickness. We kept testing ads. We were working 12 hours a day at this time when I finally recovered from my sickness, and we finally saw a breakthrough with this brand. So we hit our first 1K day in November. We actually ended up going to dinner with a couple of our friends to kind of celebrate because I had spent a year and a half grinding every single day to finally see success after a year and probably 6 months now. We went to a dinner after our first 1K day, and we kind of talked about the business and where we wanted to go with it and what we wanted to do, and built out a game plan. We finally started to scale, and we had a mentor that really guided us in the right direction. In December, we finally started to scale, and on December 1st, we did $600 in revenue on one of our first days of bumping budgets. We had hit a 1K day earlier with a little bit of a lower budget, but now finally started to scale. It was also kind of prime Q4. So we scaled up, and this absolutely changed my life. January 1st, we did 117K in revenue with about 50% profit margins, and my life changed forever. If we had given up that night that we were in the pool together, almost in tears because we did not understand what we were doing wrong, I would have not seen any success. We understood that we were learning from the mistakes that we had made, and every failure that we had was compounding to bring us to the success that we had throughout the month of December and through the rest of the months until now. We took those failures, we adapted, we worked through them, we learned from them, and we scaled our brand to 117K in a single day. That month of December, we blew every single goal we had out of the water. We did over $250,000 in profit. We booked that trip to Miami, and we finally broke through with our brand. After a year and 8 months of straight grinding and losing money, I had finally broken through, and I started seeing success. This was the best feeling in the world. My friends started seeing me succeed. My family finally saw it. People understood that my delusion for a year and a half, a year and 8 months, however long it was now, was finally coming to fruition. I had put so much time and so much effort into my business, was seeing no success, that this month it completely compounded and my life changed forever. And if I had given up at any point in time, I would not be where I am today. And it makes me get emotional because you guys don't understand where I was at throughout that entire journey. I was just behind the scenes grinding. I was posting like everything was fine, but I had not seen any success. All these people were getting into ecom, spending a couple months, started making money. I spent so much time just losing money that I finally broke through. I'm so thankful I got to do this with Kane because now, we're better than ever. We're super tight knit and we're building a real brand and a real life for ourselves. So obviously I was posting on social media throughout this time and people were seeing how fast we were scaling because this really has not been done before. We had overnight, one of the days we scaled from 30K to 50K literally overnight. Kane was 17, I'm 19, and we were posting on social media and people saw this 17 and 19-year-old doing 100K days while still in school. So obviously I built out my personal brand through this time and I made a lot of connections. So I was super blessed that I kept posting my entire journey because when I started, people were actually making fun of me. Obviously throughout school, people kind of had seen my personal brand. I actually blocked a lot of people I knew because I was embarrassed of what I was doing, even though I shouldn't have been. I had no results to show for it and I was just putting myself out there in an uncomfortable situation that now clearly paid off a lot. And it just goes to show that you guys need to stop overthinking and just start something. If I had acted on how people reacted towards what I was doing, I would have given up a while ago. I would have not posted on social media. This breakthrough me and Kane had in December changed the trajectory of me and Kane's entire life. So throughout this, I was obviously meeting a lot of people with the same mindset who kept me going, which brings me to explaining how important that is in ecom and in any type of online business journey. Whether you're trading or you're just trying to build an agency, whatever it is, you need to surround yourself with the right people that keep you locked in. You need to have people that you can set back on and talk to when you get into those dark times because it is a very normal occurrence and it helps you continue working on your business and really get to the point where you're gonna break through. Because it could take 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, but if you never give up, you will get to where you wanna be. The only reason people do not make it is because they quit. If you give up, you are allowing yourself to not see the person that you're able to become. At this point, I was online in college. I really had not put a lot of effort into college because obviously I did not want to go. And now, finally seeing this breakthrough, I decided it was time for me to drop out and go full force with my business. People at school and around me started seeing what I was doing. People still didn't believe it. A lot of people said that it was fake and that I was just lying on the internet. They could not comprehend the amount of money that I made, but they did not see the 1.5 years of me grinding and losing money and going through all these hardships, all these lows to get to where I am today. I'm super grateful to have had those people throughout my entire journey that stuck with me. When I was at those phases where I felt like I was at rock bottom, I had people to kind of lay on and talk to and get me back in the right mindset and continue pushing forward, and ultimately were a factor in me being successful because I had not given up. Now finally, all my delusions had paid off. My discipline for the last 1 year and 8 months of me grinding had paid off. People saw that all the work I was putting in meant something. And this is what you guys need to understand. You need to be delusional to make this work. It could take you 2, 5, 10 years, like I said, but if you do not give up, you will be successful. You will make an absurd amount of money and change the entire trajectory of your life if you just do not give up and follow those delusions. I promise you it is going to work out. It's very hard to push through a lot of the dark times, but you need to stay delusional and disciplined and understand that you are living your life for you now, and this is what you need to do. Step away from your friends that are pulling you into the wrong direction. Step away from the partying. If you're drinking, if you're going out, say no to those distractions and just work your ass off. That is the only way to do it. There is no shortcut in business, and you will understand that as you get deeper into your journey. No matter what stage you're at right now, you have to put years of time into the game to become successful. If you see quick success, it will die out fast because you're not building the skills and compounding those failures to really see a breakthrough and a success. I truly believe the reason that I had such a big breakthrough was because I had spent 1 year and 8 months losing money, failing, but I stayed disciplined, I stayed true to my delusion, and I made it work. Now I've made multiple 7 figures online, and I'm really changing my entire life with Kane. We're building out an awesome community, and I'm teaching other people how to do the same thing because you need to understand you are no different from somebody who is successful. The only difference is they did not give up. And you can do the exact same thing if you just stay true to yourself and be a little bit more selfish. Do things that benefit you. Don't always say yes to those friends when they try to pull you away from your business. Say no, stay at home, grind, make it happen because you are the only person who is going to decide how your life goes. Nobody is going to be there to do the work for you. Nobody is going to be there to tell you to keep grinding. You need to make those decisions for yourself, and you need to understand that your business right now and the decisions you make today are going to change your entire life. People were clowning me the entire time. People were laughing at what I was doing. People didn't believe that dropshipping was going to make me any type of money, and now I had this huge breakthrough and they refused to believe that I made it happen. I was selfish. I did not give a shit about what they had to say, and now I get to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Because I worked so hard for so long, I finally had this breakthrough and I get to live the life that I had been dreaming of for so long. So now me and Kane are building out our 7-figure brand. We have done multiple 7 figures with this brand, and we're building out a full team. We have VAs, we have a creative strategist, we have editors. We're really building out a real business because all those failures and learning curves compounded into what we're building right now. Finally, I get to move out of my parents' house. Me and Kane are gonna move out together and just go full into our business because we finally had our breakthrough, and we're able to do these things now because we spent so much time working. I think a huge part in our breakthrough was writing down those goals because we had a vision and a clear path to what we wanted to achieve. And not only focusing on the outputs, but the most important part, the inputs, because there's no way to get to those output goals unless you have an input plan. You need to write down what you need to do every single day to get to where you want to be. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to have a plan. You're not going to have a true vision of how to get to where you want to be, and you won't achieve it. So the biggest thing I want you guys to take away from this is to be more selfish. You are living your life for you. Don't let anybody else decide how you should live your life. If you want to work on your business, say no to going out with your friends. Don't go do stupid shit that you don't want to do. Wake up, work on your business, do what you need to do right now every single day to achieve the life that you want to achieve. And I want you guys to understand that I am no different from you. The whole point of me making this video is so you guys can understand how I got to where I am today, that it was not all sunshines and rainbows, and it still isn't. There's so many problems that still arise every single day with our brand. But the fact is I spent so much time working and grinding through all these problems that I can adapt and work through it. That's what an entrepreneur does. You guys just need to keep grinding and do not give up, because you will achieve success if you just grind every single day. So that's basically my story, how I went from an average high school kid going into college to now finally being able to live the dream life that I wanted to, all because I did not give up. And I focused on my business, and I worked day in and day out to make it happen. I had those delusions, and I'm finally creating my dream life. I'm gonna continue showing my journey online because 2026 is gonna be a crazy year for me, especially when it comes to content. As you guys know, my passion roots in content, so I really love filming videos for you guys and posting myself on the internet, especially when it comes to being realistic about my journey, because it is not easy. And by no means do I want you guys to think that it is easy, because anytime people ask me about it, it is hard as fuck. Being an entrepreneur is not easy at all. It is not made for everyone, and that's why 0.1% becomes successful. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and can take some things away from it and can relate to me. I know a lot of you guys are kind of in the position that I was before I had my breakthrough. I promise you it is going to pay off. Just keep working. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That was my story.